Let's just do it again. We'll do it live. So hey there, guys. Welcome back to a brand new Flick Live show. This is it. Don't get scared, you Flickamaniacs. All right, so let's dive into it. So what I was saying for the last 10 minutes in mute was I went to Fantastic Fest this last week in Austin, Texas. Now, I have never been to, that's a lie. I have been to one film festival, the Zurich, Switzerland Film Festival. But Fantastic Fest, I would say, was a more enjoyable cinematic event overall. I do have a lot of complaints with the film festival itself, especially with the ticketing system. I went as a member of the press, but whenever you wanted to purchase tickets for a film that you wanted to see that day or the next day, you had to wake up at 10 o'clock and jump on a website and hope and pray that you could just click fast enough, like some kind of cyborg, and then hopefully, maybe, just maybe, you got the tickets you wanted to see for one movie. Because if you took an extra 3.5 seconds to click on the next option, well, that shit was sold out. So I would say, Fantastic Fest, if you're watching this video, change your ticketing system. I think it's a big pile of shit, and I think it needs to be changed. I flew across the country to go to this, and there's nothing worse than waking up every morning to click on some movies you want to see so you can give them free publicity, and you simply can't get into them. So maybe, I don't know, maybe sell less tickets or make sure people that came there to your film festival can see the movies they want to see. Or hey, call me crazy, have more showings of the films. I mean, you just play the movie more. That's you just do it again, you know? So I don't know. It doesn't seem that complicated. But anyway, that's my biggest complaint with the film festival was you go to see movies, but you can't see movies. Why would you go back to this? But nevertheless, I did see some movies, and I got lucky enough to see some really good ones. And we're going to talk about those now because I just did it, but you couldn't hear me. That's really unfortunate. So I will share my thoughts again. So the first film I saw at Fantastic Fest was Terrifier 3. Now, keep in mind, I have not seen Terrifier 1 or 2. But watching 3... with a packed audience of people who love that gore porn, baby. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed watching a killer clown brutally mutilate people, especially there's one scene that takes place in a shower with a chainsaw. That was good stuff. But if you haven't seen my review for that, go over to the Flickpick channel, click it, watch it, enjoy it. I talk about the film with 3C Films, Chris Parker. If you watch YouTube, you might know just who he is. But anyway, we talked about the movie. He's a big fan of it. And as far as an entry point into the franchise, did I really need to see part 1 or part 2? No, I did not. But I will go back and revisit them this Halloween season. The next movie I saw at Fantastic Fest was The Wild Robot. And I'll be honest with you, going into this film, I knew nothing about it. I just thought it was another run-of-the-mill DreamWorks movie being crapped out. And not to say that DreamWorks hasn't put out some really quality animated flicks over the years. I love me some Shrek. But the thing that really grabbed my attention about this film within the first 10 minutes was the premise. It's about a robot stranded on an island. And whenever you can combine those two concepts into one film, I'm instantly going to be intrigued. First, you had my curiosity. Now you have my attention. And this film is heartfelt. There was one point where I could feel the tears about to trickle out of my eye. I said, not today. I slapped that shit off my face and said, I'm a man. And then I shoved some popcorn in my eyes and said, it's just the salt that's making my eyes burn. It's not tears. I don't feel emotion. I'm tough. Animated movies don't make me cry. Yes, they do. But anyway, if you haven't seen The Wild Robot, highly recommend it. Very heartfelt film. Quite enjoyed it. And I have a review up for it right now on the Flickpick channel. Go watch it. Go help the views because the YouTube algorithm is just not like it used to be. I'll tell you that much. But highly recommend The Wild Robot. Probably my favorite animated film of the year. And yes, I do think it's better than Inside Out 2. I think it's better. All right, the next one I saw was a Halle Berry flick called Never Let Go. And if it were up to me, I would probably never watch this movie again. Now, does that mean I don't recommend watching it on a cold, rainy, bleak night around the Halloween season? Maybe. If you're feeling desperate for some lukewarm entertainment, So here's how I feel about Never Let Go. I keep wanting to say Don't Let Go, but that's another movie that came out like 5 or 6 years ago. The first 2 acts of this movie are enjoyable. I think the premise alone was intriguing. It sort of has an M. Night Shyamalan vibe, except it's not as good as an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and that's saying a lot because the last few movies he's crapped out were not good. But the premise is you have this family, and they live in this secluded, rundown cabin in the middle of the woods, and the whole premise is they will not leave their house or not stray further than the ropes they tie around themselves when they go out to pick berries or grab food. So this entire family, they'll tie a rope around themselves, and whenever that rope stops, that's when they stop and they go back. Does it have some Village vibes? Sort of, kind of. I will say this, it definitely doesn't have the same ending as The Village, so they don't copy and paste and repeat that same concept again. But I think the third act of the movie just completely fell apart, where the movie logic no longer was explained and just random things happened for the sake of random things happening, and it really took me out of the film. But I think the first 2 acts were fine, and I thought the 2 little kid actors in the movie actually outshined Halle Berry, to be honest with you. And she did present the movie, so that was kind of cool to see Halle Berry in person. She's 60 years old, but you can't tell. Still looks great. All right, the next one I saw, and this might just be my favorite film I saw of Fantastic Fest, and it was Heretic. Oh, yes. It's exactly the movie I wanted to see. And Heretic doesn't come out till November, and I've had this on my radar for a while now. And it lived up to exactly what I wanted it to be. Now, this comes from the writers of A Quiet Place, and I quite enjoyed it. The premise is it's almost a religious debate, and Hugh Grant in this film, perfectly casted. I don't know what it is about sort of a sociopathic character that has a British accent that just draws me to the screen, but he was chewing up the scenery. And I would use his performance was, I think, as captivating as, and maybe not as captivating, and maybe not as bone chilling, but as entertaining as something like Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. But Hugh Grant has way more levity to him, okay? He's not going to eat your face off. But the way that they discussed religion, and it wasn't sacrilegious, it was an even debate. But there's so much levity throughout this film where they use an analogy of board games to describe religion and beliefs. And I thought that was brilliant. But it is terrifying, it is thrilling, but it's just really enjoyable to watch. So those are a few films I watched at Fantastic Fest this last week. I was there for 5 or 6 days. And would I go back? I don't know. That would really depend on if they have a lot of great films playing next time. But as far as film festivals go, maybe I'm just finicky. Maybe I'm just getting old in age. But something about the obligation of having to run around all day in the hot sun to watch movies, and then you don't know if you can get in, and that to me is not fun. Like, I like going to the theater, but I like going when it's convenient and comfortable and when I have the right mindset to experience the movie. But I will say this. This is the first time I've ever been to an Alamo Drafthouse, and I pray to the heavens above that those go national, and somehow, some way, I get one in my town. That would be phenomenal, because these are the best theaters I've ever been to. The picture quality, the audio quality, but first and foremost, they have reclining leather plush seats. But there's more. They serve you delicious food. And when it comes to theater food, I'm not talking about some shitty hot dog that someone dropped on the floor and they put in the microwave and they served to you and it costs $14.95. I'm not talking about that. Because keep in mind, I used to work at a movie theater, and that exact incident happened multiple times. I saw it with my own eyes. That's why I don't eat hot dogs at the movie theater. But the food at Alamo Drafthouse was pretty good. They had chicken tenders, they had breakfast sandwiches. It was great. I loved it. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Fantastic Fest. And the next topic I want to talk about, and we will dive into the questions. So thank you guys for chiming in, and you guys are killing it right now. I'm going to get to these questions. I The whole first 10 minutes of this being muted sort of threw me off. But the next thing I want to talk about was I saw a movie last night that I really did not know existed until last week. And it's a little film called The Substance. Now, I don't feel me giving you any verbal thoughts on the film will do it justice. I really don't. But I will start with this. If you want a visceral, raw experience that pushes the limitation or pushes the boundaries of gore storytelling, that gives you something that will make you feel uncomfortable. It almost feels like you're having an anxiety panic attack at times, but damn it, it's entertaining and horrific at the same time. It's a little movie called The Substance, like I just mentioned, and I cannot, you need to see this movie. Just go see this movie. Take it as my recommendation to you. If you want to see a fucked up thing at the cinema this year, go see The Substance. If you want something that pushes the limitations of everything you know about cinema, go see The Substance. Now, it's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone. And I will definitely say by the third act, it goes off the rails. Not only does it go off the rails, it how do I say this? It was probably the most fucked up movie I've seen all year. It was probably one of the most fucked up movies I've ever seen in the theater. But I quite enjoyed it. It was a bit reminiscent of movies like, I don't know, Requiem for a Dream meets Carrie meets The Shining meets Elephant Man meets Black Swan meets 10 other great films, including The Thing. I think that would be a great way to encapsulate the third act of that movie. But the story was also really intriguing to me. The narrative, it wasn't just gore to have gore. I thought they told a very, very compelling story. And I thought both actresses in the film were almost polarizing. It stars Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And they sort of play the same character, more or less, but very different spectrums of that character. And I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. You know, it at some points in that film, it oozes like sexiness and glamour and beauty. But then at other points, it makes you literally want to puke up your popcorn. And I will say this. If you get popcorn during this film, it's going to die a slow death because you're not going to want to eat. Yeah, if you think something like Terrifier is brutal and disgusting and gory, it is. But it has this B-rate grindhouse gore to it where you can kind of like separate yourself from it. But a film like The Substance, oh no, this is almost too real. But I love the movie. I'm still collecting my thoughts on it. I will probably do a review for it because I would say it's making the top 10 of the year by far. It was a great theater experience. And it focuses on body dysmorphia and oh shit, it's crazy. So anyway, those are my quick few topics I wanted to cover with you guys. And without further ado, I want you guys to tell me if you've seen any of these movies or if you have thoughts, share your opinions right now down below. And I'll see what you guys had to say. I want to know what you guys, if you've seen The Substance, what did you think about it? All right, let's dive into the questions here. Here we go. Come on, man. Where's all the questions? The chat's all screwed up now. All right, let's zoom up here. Here we go. All right, the first one comes from Gabe. Hey, John, do you still like to scare teenage girls with Snapchat? I do not. For legal reasons, I can't even dive into that question, man. Did I say that once? If I did, that wasn't me. That was my clone. The next one comes from James Dozier. Hi, John. How are you doing this Sunday evening? I'm doing pretty good. I did some lawn work today. I mowed my grass for the first time in like 3 weeks. It needed it. I was looking like the meth head of the neighborhood, and no longer do I look like that. I trimmed it. I mowed it. I weed eated it. I'm going to fertilize it very soon. So yeah, it's coming along. I had some questions earlier, but they're not showing up here. I'm sorry for that. I hate YouTube. I hate the way it works. Skylar Wheatlock says, the first episode of The Penguin was an absolute banger. Boy, how I wish we'd get Star Wars series of this caliber. So I watched the first episode of The Penguin, and I have a very unpopular opinion to share with you, and I'm sorry to say this because I know people like it. And keep in mind, I just watched the first episode, but also keep in mind, I love the look, feel, and tone of the Batman from Matt Reeves. And the Penguin, listen, I'll explain it this way. I grew up since I was 12 years old watching The Sopranos. I love the look and feel of that series, and I think it's blatantly obvious that Colin Farrell's Penguin is taking some inspiration from Tony Soprano, and that's fine. I think it's great. And I think the prosthetics look great. Though they look a little dry at times and it just looks like he's wearing prosthetics. And I blame that on the production quality of The Penguin. And I'm not saying it doesn't look okay for a series, but does it look as good as an HBO series should look? And keep in mind, this is the same network who's put out House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones, The Sopranos. And to me, it looks like they shot it very quickly, and it looks like they're shooting it with the technology that they shot with Mandalorian, the rear projection technology. And at times it just looks like they're standing in front of a screen, and there's too much hair lighting, and there's not enough practical set pieces in the foreground to make it feel like they're actually in this environment. It just feels like they're standing on a set. And the Penguin is now hanging out with some 14-year-old boy. And that, to me, I just don't buy that concept, because he was running the Iceberg Lounge at some point. Or I know in the Batman, he was running the Iceberg Lounge, and he has all these henchmen and all these guys that work for him. And you're telling me he can't just hire another thug off the Gotham streets? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. And then really my biggest complaints come to the production quality of the Penguin. Some of the shots look very substandard to me. They look like Law and Order episodes. And if you don't watch Law and Order, it's this weekly courtroom drama series where it's just, the way it's shot just is very network TV-esque, over the shoulder shot, standard shot, put this on a tripod. There's not a lot of artistic, interesting visuals happening. And that's kind of how I feel about the Penguin. It just feels like a very standard looking series, and none of that flavor from Reeves is injected in this. And don't get me wrong, some of the visual cues are there, like when the Penguin's hanging out in his lair and it has a very orangey look to it. It's got that Batman look. But whenever they're in the Gotham streets driving around, I don't know, it just does not feel like Gotham to me. And there is a sequence where he's driving down the road in his purple car, and the effects where it looks like they're driving down the street, it looks like an episode of Seinfeld. Like, I don't know. It took me out of it. And maybe I'm in the minority here, and that's fine. I can do that. But that's how I feel about the first episode. I know the second episode's out. The truth being, I could actually watch the entire series right now if I wanted to. I have a press link to it to watch from Max, and I just have not gotten around to it yet. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the Penguin. I'm sorry if I disappointed you. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe it'll be phenomenal. But I don't know. It sort of just feels like we're going to get a slow rise to power with the Penguin. Maybe a slight hint at what's coming in the Batman 2. But I don't feel like it's going to be this pivotal series. Or at least for me. I don't know. All right. So we had a question earlier. And I'm sorry that YouTube's super chat system is really stupid. it cuts off people's questions before you go live sometimes. And I try to notate them down, but it's not showing me everything. So, Max Nugenbauer, I know you asked a question before we went live, and you asked me, or somebody asked me, what was sort of like an underrated movie or an older movie that you could give a recommendation on. And I've mentioned this once, and I'll mention it again, and I'll mention it until every single one of you watch this easily forgettable, actually I quite enjoy it, guilty pleasure movie from the early 1990s. It's called Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. If you want a good late night comedy movie to watch on a rainy day right before you go to bed and you have nothing else better to watch, go watch Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Also, I'll tell you another 1980s movie that no one talks about. It's called The Legend of Billie Jean. Watch this sometime. If you get really bored, watch it. It stars Christian Slater. It's probably not the best movie ever, but it's definitely a product of its time. And it's about this, and I think it would actually do really well in today's culture because it's about this girl, a pretty teenage girl who's kind of harassed, and she shoots this guy, and she goes on the run, and she becomes sort of this symbol of freedom and justice as she's wanted by the authorities. And she goes on the run with her sisters and her brother, and now I almost feel like you could remake that movie today, except there'd be like a huge social media element to it. I just know the kids on TikTok would love it. So go watch The Legend of Billie Jean. It's got a great soundtrack. Phenomenal. All right, the next question comes from, let's see. Look at my mic. It just, okay. Let me bend it back into place. There we go. I got a limp noodle for a mic. Okay. Alejandro says, I had to idea to where in Texas I live in Houston. I'm trying to read this. I feel like I just had an aneurysm. What did you think of it? Keep in mind, Austin is the Hollywood of Texas, very liberal. Not that that's bad, but it's the most stereotypical Texas place. Either glad to see you doing collabs again. So yeah, I did go to Austin, Texas, and I agree with what you're saying. I like Austin, Texas, except I really hate large cities, and I always have. It's like they have everything you want to do, but none of it's convenient. Oh, you want to eat breakfast? You just want some pancakes? You want some eggs? You want some bacon? That's cool. How about you look for a restaurant for 45 minutes, drive across town to get to it, and then you can wait for 47 minutes to eat. Where I live, if you want to eat breakfast, you just drive and you eat. It's done. So I hate large metropolises, but I'm jealous of all the things that they have to do. But Austin was a cool town. I will say this. We were staying at an Airbnb probably 8 blocks away from the movie theater. And there was one night, the last night I was there, I was by myself, and I walked back to the Airbnb. I didn't take an Uber. I was feeling a little bit frisky. And walking through the neighborhoods back to that Airbnb were the most terrifying. It was one of the most terrifying things I've done in my adult life. It just felt like Michael Myers was going to pop out of the trash cans and stab me in the neck. At some point, if you've seen the movie Barbarian, you know the neighborhood with the nice little quaint Airbnb where they stay, but the neighborhood itself is just like scary and dilapidated. It was a little bit reminiscent of that. Maybe I'm being slightly hyperbolic with that, but yeah, it was fun and terrifying. I'm not going to lie to you. There was one street where my Google Maps told me to walk down, and I looked down this street that was probably like, I don't know, a quarter mile long, and it was just so dark and bleak. I was like, no, I'll go to the next one. And I did. All right, let's keep going here. Gabo says, you're muted. Well, thank you for that. We did figure it out, but thanks, man. Hiram Lavina says, we can't hear you. I know. The 50% Doctor Who podcast says, audio Johnny Bean Flicker. Yeah, I hate my software that I'm using because it told me the audio was working. It said it was working. I could see the audio wave jumping back and forth like a little kid on Christmas morning, but it blatantly lied to me. I'll never trust it again. Lex Henderson says, dude, I thought I'd gone deaf. Yeah. I'm sorry for that. Okay, Cody Gill says, John, checking out the horror movie stream. John, you checking out the horror movie stream? I don't know what the fuck that is, man. What's the horror movie stream? Bob and Casey says, John, you make me feel like a man. Well, I'll take it. I'll take that credit and that accreditation. Dustin Rich says, what is more mantastic, shaking Carl Weathers' hand Predator style or embracing him in the ocean waves? If I'm wearing short shorts and a tank top, I'm going to go into the waves. We're going to hug, we're going to jump for joy, we're going to twist about as the ocean just splashes upon us. And by the way, I saw Carl Urban at a MegaCon like 2 years ago, and there was no one in his line. I could have just walked right up to him, and I thought about doing it, and for some odd reason, I just didn't feel like it. But man, I wish I would have done that. If I could have just got one picture, just me and him, just All right. The next one comes from Alex Guzman, who says, you look like a young Mr. McMahon. You're fired. You know, speaking of Mr. McMahon, I'm an avid fanatic of pro wrestling, probably more than I will ever let on YouTube. And I'll tell you this right now. If I wasn't talking about movies on YouTube, I would have a wrestling channel on YouTube. But with all that said, and I did see a few questions asking about it, I did watch the Mr. McMahon documentary on Netflix, and I enjoyed it. Did I get a lot of new information presented to me that I didn't already know? No, I did not. But then again, I'm a guy who, when it comes to podcasts, 99% of the podcasts I listen to are wrestling-related podcasts. I've kept up on wrestling since I was 11 years old. I religiously watch it. I watch everything relating to it. And I think everything happening behind the scenes is far more interesting than anything happening in the ring for the most part. But I love all of it. But I did watch the 6-part episodic documentary series on Vincent McMahon. And I will say this. If you're a fan of wrestling or a general viewer and you don't keep up with everything, I think it's a good series that encapsulates the history of wrestling from the 1980s to now. And it shows the big bullet points relating to Vince McMahon. And it did give some insight, just a few slivers of insight into his personality that more or less I already knew who Vince McMahon was. Because if you've seen him on TV, that's the volume of who he really is turned up to like 10,000%. But he is a deviant dude, that's for sure. And there was one question that they asked him during the interview. And keep in mind, if you haven't kept up on it, there's some controversy surrounding him where he's being investigated by the FBI for human trafficking because he did take advantage of one of his interns and had to pay out a lot of hush money. Anyway, there was one thing that he said that kind of stuck with me, and the interviewer asked, how does his brain work? And he basically described his brain as 3 different computers, all having their own thoughts and opinions at the same time. And he kind of just picks and chooses which one. And one of them was, yeah, I'm focused on the interview. The other one was, I'm focused on the business. And the other part of his brain was, I'm just focused on sex. And that was a real answer from him that he gave. And that is really everything you need to know about him in this controversy that he's surrounded in right now. But I think the main goal of that documentary was for Netflix to basically say, here's what wrestling was up until this point. And if you don't keep up with WWE, it was actually purchased by TKO, who own UFC, and now wrestling will be on Netflix every Monday night. So I think it was basically them acknowledging all of this controversy, but also sort of giving people a history lesson and saying that's what it was, and now it's something different now, so they can separate it. I think that's really why they put that documentary out. Just my opinion, just my theory. But nevertheless, I did enjoy watching it every night before I went to bed. So let's go to the next question. I hope that was a sufficient answer. All right. The next one comes from Alex Guzman, once again, oh, we already answered that. Skylar Wheelock says, what's something from the 80s we need to bring back? Raunchy comedy movies that are not afraid to offend people. Go back and watch a comedy movie from the 1980s. They say some deplorable shit, but I wish we could still say it. I hate that now in a comedy film, we have to tiptoe to the point where it's just regurgitated baby food watered down into a blender for easy mass consumption, not to offend anyone. But the only people that we're trying not to offend are the same demographic of people who weren't going to pay to watch the movie anyway. So I wish we could do that. But back to the 1980s, another thing I quite enjoy, and if you want to keep it related to movies, I can. But I miss when people didn't always have technology or answers at their fingertips. Sometimes you could just get ahead in life by your wits. And now you can just cross-reference everything. You have all this information. There's just too much of it. I liked when society could just enjoy things for what they were at face value, and you didn't base your thoughts on 10,000 other people's opinions that washes over you like a tidal wave. That's what I miss. If we could go back to the 1980s. But then again, the one thing that I'm thankful for is I remember a time in the 1990s when you'd walk into a restaurant and it just smelled like cigarette smoke and everything was covered in yellow tar. That was utterly disgusting. That was the universe that we lived in. So I don't miss that. That's kind of cool. All right, the next one comes from InHolmes25, who says, John, I give myself quite a chuckle picturing Peter Dinklage as Cal in Titanic chasing Jack and Rose with a gun. Am I going to hell? Yeah, it's kind of funny, man. Yeah, I could see it. But also the way he gets on a lifeboat at the end isn't by grabbing some abandoned child and saying, she's the only thing I have in this world. He could just dress like a child himself and get on the lifeboat. That'd be a good twist. All right, let's go to the next one here. InHolmes25 says, with another question, John, last night, the light illuminated... Illiterate, legal, what the fuck are you saying here? Why can't people just read the sign that says not to do that? The light I don't know what you said, man. I gotta go to the next question. James Osher says, hi, John. How are you doing this Sunday evening? I'm doing pretty good, James. How are you doing, man? Was I muted when I talked about the substance earlier? Was I muted for that entire thing? That's really unfortunate. I don't remember if I was muted or if I even talked about it again. But let me know if I did. All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, what movie should have become a cult classic but never did? I hate questions like that. How do you want me to answer that off the top of my head right now? I'm not an encyclopedia of IMDb. I'm just a dude. Sitting in his underwear talking about movies on the internet. A movie that should have been a cult classic but never was. I don't know. Don't tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I don't know. A movie that should have been a cult classic, I feel, is earned. And if in the zeitgeist of society people gravitate towards it somehow, some way, it then becomes a cult classic. For example, movies like Dazed and Confused became a cult classic, and it deserved to be a cult classic because once you came across it or someone showed it to you, you instantly were drawn to it. I remember my cousin rented it on VHS, and we watched it. And I was like, that was phenomenal, and I was a stupid kid when I watched it for the first time. I think more people should see movies like Apocalypto. I don't know if it should be a cult classic, but I consider it a classic. Over the Top. There you go. That should be a cult classic. It does not get the respect it deserves. Why is that? I don't know. I think it was ahead of its time, to be honest with you. Does anyone else have John's number? What is that, man? All right. The next one comes from the 50% Doctor Who podcast. Says, how you feeling going into Joker 2? Well, I do have the IMAX tickets to see it tomorrow at the fan event. I'm so glad there's a fan event because I did not want to drive 3 hours to see a press screening of that shit. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard very mixed reviews and thoughts on it. A lot of people just can't get over the fact that it's a musical, and I think I've come to accept that. Now, is it going to be a good musical? I don't know. Is the sequel to Joker, is the fact that the sequel to Joker being a musical, is that what I wanted to see? No, it's not. No, but it's sort of interesting nevertheless, because what else would you do with a Joker sequel? How else would you tell that story? And if it is in fact nothing but a musical, encapsulating the events that happen, well, keep in mind we're in the mindset of an insane man. He's psychotic, and if he's gonna live his life in this whimsical musical to help him get through it, well, that kind of does make sense. It makes sense with the Joker imagining that. So from that perspective, I can buy into it. But once again, is it going to be good? I don't know. I am looking forward to it. I will let you know. I will put out a review, and I will share my thoughts on the Joker too. The next one comes from James Dosher, who says, "Are you looking?" Well, already answered that. Gator McClowski, that's a great name, says, "Substance is my favorite film of the year. I can't wait to see it again. Death Becomes Her meets The Fly. Brilliant." But I would say I enjoyed it more than either of those two films. It was... I thought it was riveting. I thought it was grotesque, and I thought it was riveting, and I quite enjoyed the story. It's like, what will you do to obtain beauty? How far will you go? And I think there are a lot of people in Hollywood today that would do all of this shit. I really do. And just the grotesqueness of it and the prosthetic effects. And at one point, Demi Moore sort of becomes a hunchback. It was glorious. And I honestly could dive into details and not spoil anything. That's the kind of movie this is. So, highly recommend it. Go see this movie in the theater. This is the best advice I can give you. If you like gross out gore shit with a good story, go see The Substance. All right, the next one comes from InHomes25 once again, who says, John, I wholeheartedly agree with your Beetlejuice review. It's like they crammed an 8-episode miniseries into a 2-hour movie. Also felt like I was watching a Disney Plus movie at times. Yeah, I gave Beetlejuice a C+. That's my lowest positive grade I can give something and still say it's positive. But really, honestly, I think I could almost lean into like a C rating for that movie. I don't think you need to see it. I don't think it's quintessential to see it. I think if you love Beetlejuice, sure, you get some Michael Keaton once again coming back. Make my millennium. And that's great, but man, the story was really subpar and generic and bland. And I thought there was a overutilization of CG towards the end of the movie where everyone's face was being sucked into their cell phone. And that was really stupid to me. And I liked a lot about it, but man, just sort of forgettable. And no one's talking about it. Just, oh, we want Beetlejuice. We want this movie for 36 years. Came out 2 weeks ago. No one gives a shit. That's Beetlejuice. Johannes Gerald says, can't wait to watch The Substance. What's your most anticipated movies for the rest of the year besides The Substance? I'll say mine are The Brutalist and Nosferatu. Yeah, I'm looking forward to both those, actually. And definitely Nosferatu. I was hoping that they would show that at Fantastic Fest, but they simply didn't. One of them was actually Heretic, which I got to see at Fantastic Fest. I think there's a few other movies coming out. gosh, there's Nosferatu's definitely maybe in the top 2 or 3. But to be honest with you, I've been doing my best to avoid movies that I want to see. I might come across a trailer, I might read a tidbit about them, but I don't dive deeper than that because I'm at a point in my life where I want these movies to be new and fresh and a new experience that I can just get immersed into. And I just don't overly research upcoming movies. I really don't. I kind of just take what they give me. And I know that maybe not the best thing for a guy who wants to do YouTube for a living, but that's sort of where I'm at. I want the pure unadulterated version of that film when I go watch it in the cinema. I don't want to be skewed by set leaks or other people's opinions who have seen the movie. I just want to witness it for the first time in the theater. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to Wolfman, which does come out in January though, but we'll just say we'll consider that 2024 for the sake of the argument. So, all right, the next one comes from Christian Corbett, who says, "Hey John, I saw Shelby Oaks in Montreal. I love Stuckman, but the film was really bad. Excited for you to review it because I know you'll be honest. Oh, I will be very honest. But and any negatives I have, I'll give a constructive criticism. And I was, to be honest with you, I was really, really hoping somehow, some way that Shelby Oaks was going to be one of the secret screenings of Fantastic Fest. I was really hoping it would be, but it unfortunately was not. But I'm looking forward to it, man. It's like I know the guy who made it. He used to sleep on my couch. I'm curious to see what he made, and I'm gonna witness it in the theater. I think that's kind of cool. Is it good? I don't know, but we will see. All right, the next one comes from Gabo, who says, "It's the nuclear apocalypse. You, Cody, Sean, and Chris are in a bunker. Food has run out. Who's getting cannibalized?" Oh, definitely Chris for sure, man. He's the smallest one of the bunch, and he goes first. Plus, I just think if I cooked him and I tenderized him just right and added a little butter, I think it'd taste delicious. Let's go to the next question. The next one comes from Avocado Balls Johnson, who says Romulus is Alien's equivalent of The Force Awakens. Okay, I can bite that. I can bite on that, or what? I can buy that. Did I need to say I can bite? I'm talking about cannibalism. Now I'm talking about biting things. Let's go. Let's just keep going. Detailed set design, nostalgia, bait distract from an uninspired plot and boring, horribly acted characters. Even the violence and gore was subpar. Well, it's not that I completely disagree with all of your points. I definitely think there was a little too much fan service that pandered in Alien Romulus. But keep in mind, originally that was supposed to be a Hulu movie. That was supposed to be like what Prey was for the Predator franchise. And I think it was above that, I really do. But I think there were things in it that could have been tweaked and changed. And if you could have just maybe reworked 15 minutes of that movie a little bit differently, I think it would have been a better experience than it was. I liked the ending. I don't know, with them trying to bring back some of the android elements from the first movie, I thought that was a bit too much. But man, the practical effects, the look of it, the simplicity of it, some of the sequences I thought were fun. I liked what they did with the xenomorph at the end of the movie. I liked the lead actress. I thought it was pretty good. I really did. I just, little tweaks would have made it better. It's like you almost had it. But if this is a launching point for the next installment, I'm okay with that. And really quick, on a side note, I want to talk about something that's really important to me, and I think this is probably going to be the most important segment of the live stream. And I mean this when I say it, is has anyone tried Oreo Coca-Cola? This is Coca-Cola that sort of tastes like Oreos. And by that, I think it sort of tastes like vanilla Coke and someone chewed on an Oreo, swallowed it, and then spit in a bottle of vanilla Coke. And that's sort of what this tastes like. Now, do I completely hate that? No, I do not. Yeah, it's vanilla Coke with a slight aftertaste of Oreo spit. And I love Oreos quite a bit. But I don't know if I'm ever going to buy another bottle of that. But it exists. And I just wanted to share it with you if you didn't know. John, thoughts on the best candy? I'll tell you the best candy. It used to be Sour Patch Kids. It really did. And then what happened was it started to eat away at the enamel of my teeth. And keep in mind, I'm not Wolverine. That shit does not regenerate, okay? So I've really gotten into Swedish Fish. And I almost went my entire life without eating a Swedish Fish. I always thought they were going to be this really hard, sticky candy that you couldn't chew and it just stuck to your teeth. Kind of like juju beans. That's what they're called, right? But Swedish Fish are delicious. They're soft, they're smooth, they're delectable, and I highly recommend them. And they're not all grainy and covered in sugar like Sour Patch Kids. You can just bite them. It doesn't eat away at it doesn't feel like you're chewing on sandpaper after a while. Your tongue doesn't get all raw. I love them. Those are my thoughts on Swedish Fish. All right. Is that what you come for? My thoughts on Swedish Fish? All right. The next one comes from Johannes Gerald, who says, Speak No Evil had decent entertainment value, but clearly more Hollywoodized and safe compared to the original. The Danish version is a slow burn horror film made for sickos. The third act is so much more sadistic, definitely a better film in my opinion. Well, I did see Speak No Evil, and I quite enjoyed it. Now, I know that the Danish film probably goes more balls to the wall, and I know it probably has more brutality and probably a darker ending, and those things are great. But I will say this, from a guy who's never seen it, and I did just see Speak No Evil, James McAvoy can do no wrong. If I was going to cast for a sociopathic psychopath role, this dude just nails it to perfection. If you've seen movies like Split or Glass, you know what I'm talking about. And Speak No Evil was brilliant, in my opinion. I loved the dark humor. I loved how awkward it would get from James McAvoy's character, where he would just put people into an uncomfortable position, but it was comedic for the audience watching at home and really uncomfortable for the characters up on the big screen. But I quite enjoyed it. There's a few elements towards the end where I wish maybe it would have went slightly different. But I had a good time watching it. I really did. It was a little reminiscent to something like M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit, ever so slightly. But I quite enjoyed the movie. I would recommend seeing it. And I will probably get around to watching the Danish version of it at some point. But and since it has a darker ending, I think maybe starting with the Americanized version was a good starting point to get into the dark sadistic shit at some point. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Cody Gill says, John will be checking out the horror movie stream by the studio that created Terrifier. Wait, is this a movie? Am I stupid? What is this? John, be checking out the horror movie stream. Is this a movie or a stream? Someone enlighten me. I got an ad for Oreo Coke when I saw Megalopolis. Probably the best part about that cinematic experience, wasn't it? Speaking of Megalopolis, I do want to see the movie. I really do. But the other night, when I saw The Substance, it was Megalopolis or The Substance. And I have to say, I do not regret the decision I made. But I will get around to seeing Megalopolis. I think it's one of those movies that sort of insists on itself. And I'm just really, listen, if this is what the director wanted to make, keep in mind, this is the man who made The Godfather and Apocalypse Now. And if this is the movie he wanted to make and this is the story he wanted to tell with his own money, hey, I applaud that shit. Does that mean it's a good movie? No, it does not. But I have not seen it. I will see it at some point. It's just one of those things where I got to pull the trigger to go sit in the theater and watch it. And looking at the trailers, I am not intrigued. I just really am not. It looks like Megalopolis to me looks like a high concept movie that would have come out in 1999. And it just feels like by 2024, this, I don't know. I feel like the time has passed. Stream is the name of the movie. Okay. I know nothing about it. I have no clue. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, actually, the movie... Is the movie you're referring to this Stream horror movie? Is that... Oh, it has the same... The Stream movie is directed by the executive producer of Terrifier 3, correct? So, fun story. I saw Terrifier 3. I put out a review. The executive producer was actually there at Fantastic Fest. I saw him, and then he emailed me the next day after I put out a review for it, and he was asking me to review his movie, Stream. So, I have not seen it. But that just triggered him. Thank you for reminding me about that. I should probably respond to his email. He was a very nice guy. Did he want me to probably just promote it and talk about it? Maybe, but nevertheless, seemed like a nice guy. All right. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, what is a movie made before your time that you watched recently and it blew you away? Lawrence of Arabia opened my eyes recently. There is a whole wide world out there to see and experience. Oh, man. Well, it's not something I've seen recently. I'm searching into the dark recesses of my brain to think of a movie that came out before my time that I've watched recently and it blew me away. And I'm not saying that there isn't a movie, but I'm hard pressed to pick one off the top of my head. I will say this. I watched Taxi Driver for the first time, maybe, I don't know, 2005 maybe. And that blew me away. I'd never seen it, and I had always heard about it and saw the VHS at the video store, and watching this vigilante movie with this internal dialogue from a guy who's a little bit unhinged, sort of sounds like the blueprint to the Joker, Todd Phillips, just putting it out there. Anyway, I was blown away by that film the first time I watched it. And I was in high school the first time I saw it. And every time I watch it since, I like it more. So that was a movie, I guess, slightly before my time that I quite enjoyed. But I'm trying to think of something like... there's a lot of Alfred Hitchcock movies I would like to go and check out that I've not seen. I've only seen a handful of them. I've seen I've seen Psycho. I'm trying to think one I've never seen. I don't know. Do you guys have any advice? What is a movie before my time? And keep in mind, my time is the 1980s that you would highly recommend I should watch. Oh, another movie I liked that I had never watched that came out in the early 80s was called Blowout. I think that was a good time. It was definitely worth the one watch I gave it. So, Megalopolis is fire. Well, hey, I'm looking forward to it. Planet of the Apes, 1968. Yeah, we actually did go back recently and revisit that around the time that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes came out. And that was sort of a very forgettable movie, wasn't it? Yeah, 12 Angry Men, I did watch that. I actually watched that in college. And I quite enjoyed it. I love films that are sort of like reminiscent of stage plays. And by the way, speaking of Heretic earlier, I was talking about that. Heretic almost feels like it could be a stage play. Like it only takes place at one location. And the movie is told through 99.9% dialogue. And I love films like that. I think they're so intriguing. Like if you've never seen Glenn Ross, it's one of my favorite films of all time. And I don't think a lot of people would say that or probably say they rewatched it more than once. But I rewatched that movie like every couple of years. I love Al Pacino's character in it. Uh, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock says, could you give us a Christopher Walken impression of you telling your former boss you're quitting and going back to YouTube? Oh, God. That was quite the experience. I don't know if I can legally ever share that on YouTube. But anyway, you know, you can take this job and shove it where the sun don't shine because go fuck yourself. Her eyes were something azul. Just tragic. But I think I'm out of here. I'll see you maybe never. Ta-ta. Bye-bye. I don't know. That's Let's just stop. We'll just stop right there. We'll just stop right there. But I will give you this. If you've ever seen the Social Network and that scene where Andrew Garfield gets kicked out of Facebook, and you have Justin Timberlake over there, and you have Jesse Eisenberg over here. That was sort of the best recreation I could give you. And just think of my employer as Justin Timberlake. That's all I can. I'll give you that much. All right, let's go to the next one. All right. The next one comes from John Tennant, who says, you missed my super chat. I was the fourth question. John, can you just restate your question right now in the normal chat? Right there on the side. I will look for it right now, man. I'm sorry. YouTube super chat system has been a little wonky of late, so please forgive my sins against humanity. I will punish myself later with a leather strap in the privacy of my home. Actually, I'll do it in my garage. Okay, the next one comes from Ellie has tipped $3.69, and the statement was, "Hi, sexy. I'll take it. Thank you. Thank you." All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock once again. Are you looking forward to WrestleMania taking place on your birthday next year? It's going to be a magical and mystical experience either way. Yeah, that is. Hey, man, you know me too well. Yeah, so WrestleMania next year, it's in Vegas. It's WrestleMania 41. And the first day of WrestleMania takes place on April 19th, which is, in fact, my birthday. We did have an original plan to maybe go to Vegas to watch WrestleMania. But, man, if you add up the tickets for WrestleMania and staying in a hotel that weekend and the tickets to get there, I'm getting cheap nowadays, and YouTube doesn't pay like it used to. So I don't know if it's going to be feasible. And plus, we have a wedding coming up on October 12th. I'm getting married. I know. I'm growing up. I've grown up before your eyes. So it's, you know, I'm sort of like Uncle Frank from Home Alone right now. Put it in your purse. Put it in your purse. Fill it up, please. So I'm definitely going to be a cheapskate for a while. But John Tennant, if you could ask your question again, man, I don't want to miss it. I'm looking at the normal chat. If you can put it over there. Anyway, let's keep going here. Greg Thompson says, thoughts on the movie Purple Rain. I've seen that once, and I've never seen it again. I think I watched that, oh my God, 20 years ago. To give you some in-depth thoughts on it, I could not. And maybe I should go explore it one more time because it's been so long since I've seen that. Klaus Vergara says, who's a better action star, Seagal or Van Damme? Oh, Van Damme would roundhouse kick Seagal's stupid little ponytail off any day of the week, baby. Jedi Knight of the Difficult says, Chris Duckman is one weird deed. Yeah, he's kind of... I mean, to be honest with you, everyone that you know on YouTube in real life behind the video camera are very weird people. I'm one of them. Okay? But yeah, everyone's pretty fucking weird. Let's be honest. Jedi Knight of the Typical also says Shelby Oaks being good would be a surprise. Maybe it is. Maybe it's. I want to see it. It's one of my most anticipated movies. I just want to. I hope that he got to make the movie he wanted to make. I really do. And then I can fairly give you my thoughts on it. Steve Goldie says, Jaws on My Pool was the video that inspired me the most. 2.3 million views and rising. I don't know how that happened or why it happened. There's something in the YouTube algorithm where they just like a guy in a pool with a toy shark. And maybe one day I need to recreate that. Or maybe I just need to dedicate a YouTube channel to nothing but that. I am not quite sure. You know, because to be honest with you, on YouTube, everyone's talking about movies. It's kind of oversaturated to the point where it's almost demoralizing. There's a review for a review on top of a review, and then there's a reaction to someone's review for the review of a movie that's been reviewed. So maybe I should just be the guy who plays with fucking toy sharks in my pool. That's the last. If the movie stuff doesn't work out, I'm gonna resort to that. Okay, and when you guys start seeing videos of me just in a pool with a toy shark, you know the end is coming soon. All right. All right, the next one's coming from somebody up here. Here we go. Carter Lovejoy, who says, thoughts on the current P. Diddy situation. You know, I think there was rumors and rumblings for a long time that dude had something else going on. And if you just look at him and you look at his like dead eyes and his droopy mouth, he looks like he has a few chromosomes missing. And I've always thought that about P. Diddy. And then he has mumbly rap music. I never was really a fan of it. But I'm curious to see what the outcome of this is. And I want to see if he rats on everybody. I just hope he rats on everyone. Everyone who's guilty, who's a true piece of shit in Hollywood, expose them. What do you have left to lose? I mean, 500 bottles of baby oil? Jesus. Like, not 400, 500. But keep in mind, there's nothing illegal about owning baby oil, okay? All right? I own a little bit myself. That doesn't make me a monster. It just makes me a guy who likes to watch over the top and smear my biceps in a little bit of baby oil late at night. And maybe that's all he was doing. No, he's a monster. He seems like a monster. Speaking of monsters, did you guys watch the Lyle and Eric Menendez series on Netflix? I'm about halfway through it. I like it. There's some Patrick Bateman vibes going on with Lyle in that series, is there not? All right, the next one comes from Carter Lovejoy, who says, which movie should I do first for the beginning of the Halloween season? Arachnophobia, Blair Witch Project, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Insidious, Saw, Sleepy Hollow, or Sweeney Todd? Well, I'm not a big fan of half of the movies that you mentioned. Call me crazy. I know. I've never really liked the Blair Witch Project. I'm sorry. I'd never bought into the hype. I don't like POV films. I like if you put a POV segment in a horror film, but the entire movie being that, I don't know. I don't want to watch that. I think Arachnophobia would be a kind of a cool. I have not seen that movie in 30 years. That's a lie. No, actually, you know what? That's not a lie. The last time I watched that movie was probably like 1992, and I was like 7 or 8 years old. But I remember John Goodman being in it as the exterminator, and it was produced by Steven Spielberg, was it not? I would like to go back and revisit that. So maybe watch that. I would definitely watch Insidious and Saw. Sleepy Hollow is a good time. So yeah, I was never a fan of Sweeney Todd. Did I just say to watch that? I was never a fan of that. All right. The next one comes from Willie the Warden. Okay. All right, Willie, what do you got here? Have you seen Megalopolis / plan to review it? If I see it, I will definitely talk about it at some point. I don't know when I'm seeing the Joker tomorrow. So maybe this week, if I have some downtime, I'll check it out. I personally think everyone should see it, whether they love or hate it. Ford Coppola is front tier. Oh, phenomenal director, man. I would definitely give it a chance based on the director. Avocado Balls Johnson says, I watched the first 4 episodes of Terminator Zero and it gave me ding-a-ling cancer. The plot, the characters, and voice acting suck ass by choice, but the worst part is the weapon grade cringe dialogue. Skip. Some people said that was good. I had not got around to watching it. And I just thought it was kind of odd that the teaser trailer they put out for it actually doesn't show anything. So I don't know. I haven't really heard much conversation on it. John Tennant, here we go. Will the Russo brothers will pass on Steven Spielberg as the highest grossing director? Spielberg is number 1 with 10.7 billion. The Russos are at 6.8. They will need to make 3.9 with Doomsday and Secret Wars. Well, I think both those movies, both the upcoming Avengers movies, might be billion-dollar movies, so they're going to get damn close. So that might be $2 billion. They just need another 2 to go. And keep in mind, Spielberg has been directing movies for 40 years, man. So, they've been around for what? 10, 15? So, I maybe they'll get there. I don't really care. They're already millionaires and the studio system just makes all this profit and money. I don't give a shit if the studio makes $1 billion. We don't get any of it. We're the ones paying for it. But what I would like is some quality entertainment. So, maybe they'll get there. I don't know. I'll take $1 billion. All right. I would just take my Costco credit card being paid off. That would be sufficient for me. All right. The next one comes from, Carter Love. We already answered that. Talked about P. Diddy already. Skylar Wheelock says, no one will ever hate it as bad as RoboCop as their... Okay, what are we saying here? No one will ever have it as bad as RoboCop as their workplace. The dude died and they still made him go back to work. And then he had to eat baby food. Oh, absolutely. If I get blown apart, man, just leave me be. I don't want to do this. I don't care about injustice. I don't want to walk around all slow like a robot. No, thank you. The name's Murphy. The moon looks lovely this evening. All right. Holmes Art says, John, if you could astral... What? If you could astral... Oh, astral? Okay. If you could astro project in your sleep and travel to the further to visit the tortured souls of the dead like Dalton does in the movie Insidious, would you do it? Not only would I do it, I do in fact do it every night when I go to sleep. When I close my eyes, I see nothing but tortured souls in another dimension. And that's why I am like I am. Probably I would, yeah. Max Nugenbauer says, my super chat was the first one. I know, Max. What was the question? Did I answer your question? I hope I did. Here it is. Max Nugenbauer says, Bad Boys 4 is my favorite movie of the year. Well, that's a choice. Though it's my least favorite Bad Boys movie, the second one is still the best one. I would definitely say Bad Boys 4 was not my favorite film of the year. I thought it was mildly entertaining, but the plot just felt really boring and bad. And by the end of the film, it clearly looked like they were filming it in like Louisiana maybe or something. I know it's supposed to take place in Florida, but it looked like they shot it in like Louisiana for the tax credits. And just the whole climax of the film I'm sorry to shit on your movie, man, but let me shit on it for a second. The whole climax of Bad Boys 4, where it takes place in this like Bayou Labatry setting where there's like all these henchmen in black t-shirts just standing around at some dilapidated like house on a river. And I don't even remember why they're there or why they hang out there or what the concept of it was. It kind of reminded me of the Roadhouse remake with Jake Gyllenhaal, how all the bad guys hung out at some like shitty like house for no reason. Like, this is, you're grown men and you're hanging out at a clubhouse all day. Don't you have a wife or a family and kids? What do you do all day here? Anyway, and is the dress code wear a black t-shirt that's 2 sizes too small? But the entire story of Bad Boys 4, I couldn't even tell you what it was because I forgot what it was. It was so instantly forgettable, but just, it felt like less than. It felt like the most underwhelming Bad Boys movie that we've had thus far. And it's the 4th installment. So I like to see Martin Lawrence. I liked when they were hanging out and they were both getting too old to do what they were doing. And I liked the humor of that. And Martin Lawrence really wanted some Skittles. I thought that was funny, but I thought it was a really instantly forgettable movie. All right, the next one comes from Rafa Zepian, who says, "What's your top 5 movies released this year?" Oh man. Okay. Let me compile this list now. In no particular order, I'm going to go with Heretic. I might just put The Substance in there. I might just put it in there. I've not seen anything this year in the theater that has put me on the edge of my seat and also entertained me along the way as much as that film did. I might put, I don't know if it's in the top 5, but I quite enjoyed The Good Robot. Do you like how see, this is why you can trust my taste. I can go from loving The Good Robot to loving The Substance, okay? What's another movie that came out this year that was good? I always blank out on movies I've seen when I talk about movies on YouTube. It's a weird phenomenon. I can remember that one time in the theater in 1995, but I cannot remember the movies I saw 2 weeks ago. It's a weird phenomenon. I can't tell you where it comes from or why I do it. But let's see. God, this year, let's see. I'm looking at some movies. Oh, another one I like Deadpool and Wolverine. I really think that gave me hope for the comic book genre. I quite enjoyed that. I don't know. I'm trying to think what else came out this year that I would put in my top 5. I'd have to do some soul searching. I know there's some other great movies I'm not thinking of. Oh yeah, Dune. Dune 2 would definitely be up there in the top 10. I don't know if it's my top 5 though. Longlegs. I'm sorry. Longlegs, after thinking about it, it was fine to watch it once, but that was not what I wanted it to be. It really wasn't. I was hoping for more of a mystery and a detective thriller drama movie with some crazy fucked up shit with Nicolas Cage. And you get like little tidbits of that, but it just was not the movie I wanted it to be. I think what's really unfair about cinema is you have a movie like The Substance where if they marketed that film like the most fucked up movie, the craziest movie of the year, and you saw it, you'd be like, yeah, that was fair. That was fair marketing. They did not lie to me. But with Longlegs, when they were like the most terrifying movie of the year, brilliant marketing, not true whatsoever. Oh, Furiosa would be in there as well. Yeah, so I'm sorry, guys. The last year, not being on YouTube consistently, I think my brain was in a different mode. I just recently, probably in the last week, clicked the switch internally in my brain to get back into YouTube mode. So please forgive me. I'm still catching up. But yeah, I think I gave you 5 movies there. I do want to go back and watch Furiosa again on 4K. I've been kind of savoring the flavor. Okay, the next one comes from Julian, who says, "Hello, Demi Moore, Oscar, ? Also, any honeymoon plans? I don't know what we're doing for a honeymoon. We might just go somewhere for a few days to get away from life and responsibilities and the obligations. But nothing too crazy. We're going to probably save the honeymoon for a cruise later next year. But thanks for asking about that, though. Demi Moore, Oscar, I think she's earned it. But also, I want to say this about The Substance. I feel like, and this is just a theory, not to take anything away from Demi Moore because she was brilliant in the film, and I forgot how great Demi Moore is as an actress because I haven't really seen her in much in the last like 15 years. And but she was always phenomenal. Like G.I. Jane, she was great. But I almost feel like one of the other casting choices they could have had playing Demi Moore's character was someone like Jennifer Connelly. Because the younger actress who plays the same character, but the younger version, she looked like Jennifer Connelly. She looked identical to Jennifer Connelly. Go back and look at like The Labyrinth or something look at something from the early 90s with younger Jennifer Connelly. Identical to Margaret, what's her last name? Something? Whatever her last name is. But looks identical. So I almost feel like they originally maybe wanted Jennifer Connelly and then got Demi Moore. But then again, maybe Demi Moore was always the first casting choice. Yes, ass to ass. I love me some Requiem for a Dream, man. Good stuff. Yeah, the same thing with Requiem for a Dream where like you just don't want to take drugs because you watch Marlon Wayans puking up in mashed potatoes. That's the same thing I don't want to do to like try to capture my beauty one day when it completely fades. And it's kind of fading right now. I'm getting some gray hairs. Okay? Don't let my boyhood-like charm and sensibilities fool you. I'm an old man. Underneath this facade, I'm Clint Eastwood. Okay? That's who I am. But then again, would I take the substance to capture my youth? Probably. Maybe. Maybe one day. Yeah, Margaret Qualley. Yeah, I can never remember her last name. Okay. Margaret Qualley. I'm gonna remember. Click. I'm gonna remember it now. And then I forget it in 5 minutes. Okay, the next one comes from Avocado Balls Johnson, who says, speaking of movies that deserve to be cult classics, have you seen Brawl in Cell Block 99 with Vince Vaughn? I have seen it. The one thing I didn't buy in that movie is when he early on goes into like this, he goes to this prison that has like dirt floors that looks like it's in a cave. And I'm like, there's no prison in the justice system that looks like this. This is like a prison for cavemen. And this is a prison from the medieval era. Like, what is this? I've seen it. I thought it was okay. I know a lot of people love it. The story and the main character remind me of Marv from Sin City. Okay, yeah, I can pick up on that a little bit. I put my mitts on. I love Marv from Sin City. Hey, Dollface. Talk about a guy trying to recapture his youth with going through anything and everything to do so. Mickey Rourke. I don't want to crap on the guy, but have you seen him lately? Whew. All right, let's go to the next one here. Great actor, though. Okay. Skylar Wheelock says, which character has the best redemption arc in your opinion? I'm going to go with Steve from Stranger Things and Boromir from Lord of the Rings. Steve from Stranger Things. That's a good pick. Damn, that's a great question. Characters with a great character arc. I hate getting asked these questions on the spot because I can never think of them. I love a character, a redemption story. You know what? Well, maybe that's a reach. It might be a reach. I was going to say the T-800 from Terminator 1 to Terminator 2 definitely has a character arc, but I guess they're different cybernetic organisms, so does that technically count? Maybe not. The Penguin, I mean, I guess he does have a character arc. He kind of becomes a good/bad guy, in a sense. I mean, Beetlejuice sort of has a character arc where he kind of does the right thing by the end of the movie, does he not? Am I looking forward to Happy Gilmore 2? Yes, I am looking forward to it. I did see some set photos of it, so hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's mildly entertaining. The next one comes from James Dosher, who says, The Rock is a boring actor who plays the same role in the same type of movie. Would you agree? Oh, for the last 10 years, absolutely. The Rock is just playing The Rock in every single movie. And all these movies are just generic B-rate action movies that have a $200 million budget for some odd reason, but they're complete and total ass juice. And now he's starring in a new Christmas comedy movie that's an action movie that I just feel like it's going to bomb really hard at the box office. Just my thoughts, because the first time I saw the trailer for it, I was like, oh, that's a new Netflix movie. And no, it's a theatrical release. So, John, are you looking forward to Gladiator 2? Is water wet? Absolutely. Maximus Decimus Meridius, father to a dead son, husband to a dead wife, and he will have his vengeance in this life or the next. Fuck yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I think The Rock does have range if he would just try. Now, the thing I am looking forward to with The Rock is he has a new movie coming out where he plays a UFC fighter. Oh my God, I forget the name of the fighter. But they put some prosthetics on him, and he looks the part, man. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, we get some acting ability from The Rock in this film. So. Yeah, it's an A24 film. What is it called? Somebody help me out. All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, what if they remade Home Alone, but with an adult defending his home on Purge Night? Would you watch it? I mean, haven't they kind of borrowed that concept from a multitude of... I mean, you have the movie... oh my God, what is it called? Well, Jamie Lee Curtis did it in Halloween 2018. Then you had Better Call Saul. Oh my God. At the end of that film, I forgot what that movie's called. He gets beat up a lot. John Wick director, producers, whatever. They've kind of borrowed that concept. And wasn't there just another movie that had sort of a Home Alone-esque vibe to it? Don't get me wrong, I like it. I like when someone's just using booby traps in their house to defend it to a certain degree, but I feel like we've kind of seen it. All right, the next one comes from Carter Lovejoy, who says, thoughts on Season 2 trailer for The Last of Us. I'm looking forward to it. I like it. I love the controversy about the casting of the lead actress in there, Ellie. And it's not that I disagree. I think there might have been better choices out there, and especially that have more similarities to the character in the game. Yeah, nobody. Yeah, there it is. But no, I think the trailer looks good. I think it looks cinematic, and I'm just ready for another apocalyptic, immersive experience that I can watch on a weekly basis. So I'm looking forward to it. All right, the next one comes from Avocado Balls Johnson, who says, will Shelby Oaks be good? I don't know, man. I don't know. I won't even speculate. Well, it comes from a guy who wrote the line, tell that to Zod Snap next. So, yeah, it does. But, was this not all just a big... I feel like that drove him to want to make a movie to prove everyone wrong. And good on Chris. So I don't know. It could be a big pile of shit. It could be a mediocre movie that should just be on Shudder, or he can capitalize on his fan base and propel the movie via marketing to be a successful film. Because sometimes, box office has say so. And if it makes money, then that could catapult his directing career, and this would be a good launching point. With all of that said, do I think it's going to be good? I don't know. Nobody Was Boring. Yeah, I was not a huge fan of that movie. I thought it was okay. I like Bob Odenkirk, but I just thought it was that's okay. I kind of wanted more from it, to be honest. But people loved it. People praised it, and I just think... Yeah, I can think of 47 better action movies right now to watch. So why would you put that one in again to watch it? The next one comes from InHomes25, who says, John, do you think Did I just answer this? I think I did. Sony Chavez says, "Hey John, this is off topic, but any dating advice? Don't do it, man. Don't do it. Just get a subscription to Pornhub, stay home, be happy, eat frozen pizza, and do whatever you want to do in life." That's the best advice I can give you. I'm saving you a lot of time and effort, man. You know what? I don't know. Listen, work out, be the best version of you, and maybe you'll find someone who makes you happy in life. You know what? That's the best advice I can give you. How do you do that? I don't know. Just keep swiping. All right, the next one comes from DJ Ron, who says, "John, it's been a long time. Can you believe we are getting married on the same day? I think that makes us connected somehow. You're getting married the same day as me? That's pretty awesome, man. Well, congrats to you, buddy. Maybe we'll say I do at the same time." Hey, look, I'm just looking forward to getting drunk and hanging out. That's what I'm going to do. So the next one comes from Robin J. Yang, who says, "There's a film I think you'll love, 2001 Korean film called Friend. It's like Stand By Me if two of the friends grew up to be rival gangsters. The whole movie is on YouTube for free with English subs." Okay, sounds like a good premise. For some reason, that sounds vaguely familiar to me, because I went on a South Korean film kick, and I remember looking up all these great films and writing down a list, and I feel like maybe that was one of them. I could be wrong. But what's it called? Friends? I'll write it down on a list again right here. All right. I'll look into it, man. Thanks for the recommendation. Have you guys seen Friends? Is it good? Not talking about the series. We're talking about the South Korean film. All right. Claudio Rogajon, how's it going, buddy? Hey, John. I recently and by the way, Claudio, I gotta talk to you for a second, okay? When I was at Fantastic Fest, there was a viewer who went out of his way. He waited at the theater for 30 minutes with his girlfriend on their date night to say hi to me and take a picture. And that was really awesome. So thanks to you, man. And he had a YouTube, I remember his YouTube name. And if he's watching right now, I hope he comments. I do remember the YouTube name. But anyway, thanks for going out of your way to say hi, man. It does mean a lot. I was like, that made my day. It really did. Where was I? Oh, yes. But he referenced watching my live shows when he has his long work trips. And that was cool. It's cool to meet people who actually watch your shit and listen to what you say. It's really neat. Because sometimes I forget there's real people typing right now and asking these questions. But he referenced you, Claudio Rogajon. He's like, he referenced like how you're always commenting or in the live shows. And so I thought I'd share that with you, man. So, all right, let's answer Claudio Rogajon's question. I'm fucking hyped now. Hey, John, I recently just watched The Rundown again, and I will say it's probably Dwayne Johnson's best movie, and damn, I missed Sean William Scott in the movies. I love it. Thank you for the statement. I quite enjoy Peter Berg's The Rundown. I think it's probably one of the top 3 rock movies ever made, and I think it's one of the better Peter Berg movies ever made. And they had a sequel in the works for that movie forever. So yeah, I like The Rundown. Speaking of Christopher Walken, Gabo says, "Hey John, can you do an impression of Chris Rock?" Probably not. Oh, here it goes. Oh, there you go. I don't know. NRML Design says, "Hey John, is there any movies slash movies that you haven't seen that would surprise people, especially highly rated movies. Mine would be the Godfather trilogy. Yeah, so it took me a long time to get around to watching the Godfather trilogy. And I have never seen Godfather 3. Never seen it. Another movie that I've never sat down and fully watched, but I've always seen bits and pieces of it, was Rosemary's Baby. What's another movie? I'm trying to think. There's a lot of big movies I've never seen. I'm trying. I'm off the top of my head. It's hard for me to remember movies I haven't seen, but there's a lot. I think it might shock you, some of the movies I've never seen. I'm trying to think of a huge one. I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me. I've never seen Fast and Furious 4. I've never watched all of it. And that's the truth. I've only watched like 15 minutes of it. That's the one where the prison bus flips over at the end, right? I think I've only seen like that. And you know what? I'm okay with that. There you go. Oh, I've seen The Prestige. Come on, man. I've seen Green Mile. Citizen Kane. I've only watched the opening to Citizen Kane and a few clips. I've never watched all of the film. But I've also heard it's kind of overrated. I've heard that from hardcore film enthusiasts alike. It has some really awesome shots, but I've heard the movie's like, it's all right. All right, let's go to the next one here. Sean H. says, John, welcome back. Have you seen Love Lies Bleeding? If so, what are your thoughts? Yeah, I did watch Love Lies Bleeding, just to verify that that's the same movie I'm thinking of. That's what the chick that works out in Kristen Stewart, right? Yeah, I've seen that. I quite enjoyed it. The main actress, Katie M. O'Brien, see, that's who should play She-Hulk. But I liked aspects about the movie, but I love how it opens up with Kristen Stewart. She works in a gym, and she's literally plunging a toilet with her hand. And I just think to myself, you're so fucking disgusting. And then, but the thing, it's like, get a plunger, Kristen Stewart. The movie goes a little bit off the rails, but I did enjoy it. I like the bodybuilding aspect of the character Jackie. I thought it was an okay movie. Not definitely a classic by any means, but I did overall enjoy the experience. All right, the next one comes from... I need to hurry up with the questions. I'm talking too slow. Let's talk faster. Okay. My Sweetie Pie says, been recycling the same movies/shows for a bit and made it a goal to get to the theaters more. It's blockbuster summer, still a thing because this year was not hitting. How did you feel about this summer? Oh man, it was definitely an underwhelming summer for movies at the theater. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a few good things along the way, but yeah, it was kind of a weak summer. But I think this fall, there's some really great films you should check out. And some of my favorite movies I've seen are movies from the last 2 weeks. Like I said, The Wild Robot, Substance, just a few that I quite enjoyed that would definitely go on my top 10 list of the year. I'm looking forward to next year, but it was just kind of a meandering year overall. I'm trying to think like some of the big blockbusters we had at the cinema this year, and it's like Deadpool, Wolverine. Yeah, it was probably number one, but I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. Venom 3 is coming out. Is anyone excited about Venom 3? Steve Goldie says summer blockbusters were better in the 90s. Yeah, to a certain degree, I think blockbusters in the 90s had longer legs. I got my long legs on. But what I mean by that is, and I'm not doing a Nicolas Cage quote here, is you would have a movie that was hyped up for a year ahead of time. I remember the teaser trailers for Independence Day like a year before it came out. And then the movie hit and everyone talked about it and it had conversations surrounding it and it stayed at the theater for months and everyone went to go see it. And it was just, that's how movies used to work and that's how they used to exist. And now it's like there's very little hype. There's some anticipation going into a movie, but I would almost say there's more hype and anticipation for big IP releases than there is conversation about the movie after it comes out. like, oh, I can't wait to see the big new Wolverine movie. And then it comes out. People talk about it for like a week. You see some YouTube videos and then it's like, it just drops off the face of the planet. And then we're inundated with TikTok and 10,000 other movies that come out. And I don't like that. That's sort of depressing to me. I don't like that. I like when films have a conversation that can last weeks and weeks. I mean, even when The Dark Knight Rises came out, you could talk about that movie for a year leading up until the movie came out. And then after it came out, you could talk about it for like another 5 months and it was still relevant. And I miss that. That's the version of life I miss. A Quiet Place Day One was great. I think it was an okay theater experience, but I don't think the movie itself was all that great, to be honest with you. I think it was kind of underwhelming. And I thought they could have utilized New York City more than they did. Because at some point, it just could have been, that movie could have taken place in any city. And there was nothing specific about New York that it had to be set in. I thought it was okay. Yeah, but Dune 2 was definitely a spectacle. I quite enjoyed it. All right, let's go to the next question here. Elliot Cecil says, Penguin has been phenomenal. I talked about that earlier in the live stream, and, I don't love the way the production quality of it looks. I just wish they actually kind of shot it. Like, I get when you have a movie or you have a series that's episodic and you have all these prosthetics on your character, it's kind of hard to get him in actual physical, real practical locations to do some of these things. It's just something about it just looks very flat to me. And it just looks like it's shot like a weekly TV show. I don't know. I just want some more captivating visuals and a little more style on it. And, maybe I just want Matt Reeves to direct every episode so it truly feels like it's part of the Batman universe. But I will continue it. Maybe the second episode is even better. But I know people like it. I know I'm in the minority when I say this. I'm very aware of it. But I'm just going to be honest with you. Isn't that what you're here for? You don't want me to placate and pander to you, do you? Okay. All right, the next one comes from nope. Asher56 says, please talk about how good X-Men Days of Future Past is. Oh, probably one of my, it might just be my favorite X-Men movie. As far as the way it looks, the tone, I love I like Magneto in that film. I like that kind of where he's at in that film. And also, Evan Peters, who plays Quicksilver. I love that sequence. And also the time period, the 1970s time period in that, I quite enjoy. I think overall, as far as an X-Men movie goes, it's one of the most entertaining and fulfilling X-Men movies. Yeah, quite enjoy it. It's good shit. Oh, and also Hugh Jackman in that movie where he the scene where he gets shot up he's sleeping with the one chick and the dudes break in the room and shoot him like 25 times. Love it. But also, X-Men First Class, I think, is underrated. All right? Okay, Bobby Lowe says, spend a night with the Pigeon Lady or let Arnold smash. Smash me? That's fine. Do it! Do it now! Bend over! I'm here! That's fine. Just I will not let the Pigeon Lady within a 10-foot radius of me. I will not do it. I will not. DJ Run says, by the way, how's the wedding planning going? I just smile and nod and let everyone else make the decisions. The only thing I'm deciding on is the music that I walk down to and maybe the name of the drink that I have at the wedding. And by the way, I will let you know, my drink at the wedding will be called the Dude. What is it going to be? A White Russian. That's right, folks. And will I be walking down the aisle to the Imperial March, the piano version of it? Yes, I will. So look out for that. So anyway, thanks for that question. For me, it's so endless. Every time I think I covered everything, somehow something else pops up and I have to take care of it. It will never end. Yeah, I can't. Listen, it's bittersweet. I just need it to get over with so I can move on with life. It's too stressful. It's giving me more gray hairs. I'm going to look like George Clooney by the end of it. All right, Skylar Wheelock once again says, it's wild that 4 of our most compelling young actors, Austin Butler, Mickey Madison, Sydney Sweeney, Margot Qualley, I feel like I say her last name wrong every time, all had breakout parts in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's because Tarantino knows how to cast a movie, okay? A movie about the transition of eras that came right at the end of an era. Hey, that's Tarantino for you. Logan is overrated. I wouldn't say Logan's overrated. But there are some aspects about it that I don't love. All right, the next one comes from Harold Holland Fast, who says, hi, John. What is one of your own YouTube videos you reckon everyone must see? My favorite is your Scream 6 first reaction. Lost in the Theater. Also, will you do more videos with 3C Films? I don't know. Maybe we might collab or something down the road. Maybe like a live stream or something. I think that would be good. I think one video you should watch that's a really good nostalgia flick pick is How to Watch a Movie. I think that's really encapsulating of who I am as a person and sort of like encapsulates the tone of my channel at that time. And not to sound like a self-indulgent prick who's slightly narcissistic, but I will go there just for one moment. The other night, I was going through on my TV and I was watching some of my YouTube videos, and man, there's some gold in there. I'm not going to lie. It's just some of the intros I would do. Like, I was just talking about some fucking Blu-ray, and I would do like a 5-minute intro that I spent like 2 days putting together. And I'm just like, who is that guy? I miss it, man. So it did kind of, and the reason I went down that rabbit hole was I was sort of just like refining myself. I was rediscovering who I am as a person because my senses have dried up over the last year. And I needed those creative juices to start flowing again. So I needed an adrenaline shot right to the fucking heart of who I am as a person. And that's what I was doing. So also, there was a lot of videos my fiance had never seen. So I figured I'd show her all of those. And after we were done watching about an hour of my videos, we decided that maybe the best thing to do is just call the wedding off and part ways. I'm just kidding. Let's go to the next question. Avocado Balls Johnson says, Michael Biehn's career is a tragedy. He fell off the face of the earth in the 90s. Really intense, dramatic actor. Wish he was in more stuff. Yeah, you know what's weird about that? And I have a weird theory I want to share with you guys, and here it goes. James Cameron is really good at casting actors who only really find success in James Cameron movies. And what I mean by that is you have Michael Biehn, right? You have Terminator. You have Aliens. But then you have someone like Sam Worthington from the Avatar franchise. And his career tried to jumpstart. He was in like some really generic action movies and Man on a Ledge and what was the Swords and Sandals movie, whatever that was called. And outside of Avatar, he doesn't really have much success. And I feel like that's the same thing with Michael Biehn. I don't know what it is. There's something there. It's just a theory. I don't know, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. I've always thought of that. Steve Goldie says, one of my favorite videos was how to spend 80 cents. You had checks for 65 and 15 cents, cashed them, and spent it, which helped me appreciate the little things in life. It was pure gold. Well, thanks for that, Steve. I forgot that video existed, and I think everyone should go watch that. That video is actually on this channel. What was it called? How to spend 80 cents. Go watch that video. I missed that. That was you know what YouTube was at that time? It was basically an outlet, and it was therapeutic. I was a depressed young kid. Makano says, forever young, John Flickinger, big kid. I'll take it. All right, here we go. The next one comes from Dirty Dom, who says, what is your daily routine like with no more 9 to 5? Man, I'm trying to stay structured and as productive as I can. And I'm just really, I make a calendar on Google Calendar, right? And I try to give myself a few things to do the next day that's always going to be productive. You know, it's going to build towards something. And if that means I spend a little bit of time, you know, marketing or emailing or trying to seek out some sponsorship deals or coming up with some video ideas and then really just trying to like get the production quality how I want it to be. And I do have some new things on the way. Like a different microphone, because this one I cannot plug into my camera because there's a loud hissing sound, which just drives me crazy. It's 2024, right? We have AI, we have technology, we have cars that can drive themselves, but I cannot plug this microphone into my camera without digital frequency screaming at me like a woman trapped in my basement. Okay? What's going on with that? But yeah, I try to come up with something, and then now I'm trying to see every single movie that is somewhat mildly interesting to me that I think will do well on YouTube. And I'm making it an effort to do that. If it's a streaming movie or a theatrical release, I'm really trying to do that. And I have a couple video series that I need to kind of solidify the details on. But really, I think my main goal is just to be consistent. That's always been my Achilles heel. And I'm just trying to be consistent. So bear with me, okay? We're in the building phase. We're rebuilding right now. And I'm trying to figure out who I am and what is my purpose. And the landscape of YouTube is always changing. And we'll get there, don't worry. And the weird thing is now, you can't just make YouTube videos. You have to make TikTok videos. And then you have to make Instagram videos. And it's just like, shit. That's a lot of shit. And I feel like I'm just saying the same thing 3 times, but for a different audience. The crazy thing is, as I ramble on, just stick with me for a second. This is long form content, so I think you guys have the attention span to keep up with me here. But really what it is you have to make long form content for YouTube. Those are the people who can sit down and watch a 7-minute video. I know it's crazy. And then you have to make really short form content for TikTok. And then you kind of have to do like more loosey-goosey but short-form content for Instagram. It's a weird phenomenon that we live in, but I'm saying the same thing 3 different ways. I don't know if I like it. And YouTube is always, first and foremost, my priority and the thing where I will always go to share my thoughts because, I don't know. I don't want to be neutered. I don't want to be edited down. You know, I don't want to make a 60-second video sharing my thoughts on something because there's no substance in that. The only thing you can say in 60 seconds is, it was good. But maybe that's all people want to hear. Which is slightly disheartening in itself. So with all that said, let's go to the next question. And the next question is Bobby Lowe, who says, would you rather spend a night with... Did we answer this? Oh my God, we answered that already. Rudy A says, hey, John, you're an awesome guy. Well, thank you for that. That does mean a lot. Any thoughts about the Legends of Zelda live action film? Also, who would you cast as Link? As Link? I don't know, Tom Holland. That's not a very inspired casting decision. I'm sure there's some like young, maybe British actor who would be perfectly cast in that role. I don't know who you could cast as Link. I really don't. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. But I would like to see a live action Zelda movie. I played the games like briefly. I was never super into them, but I watched the movie though, like a fantastical fantasy movie. I think it would be a cool time. But keep in mind, it's based on a video game. How good is it going to be? I don't know. Okay, here it goes. Makano, who is a YouTube member, says Stuckman says nothing in his 20-minute videos, so 60 seconds must be really hard. Yeah, it is. It really is. And click right here if you want to go to the next question. Here it is. Claudio Rogajon back again. Don't you ever go anywhere, Claudio. Don't you ever leave me. John, every time you live stream, it brightens my day. And I've been here since you started live streaming. That's probably why people recognize my name so much. Well, abso-fucking-lutely it is. You're a pinnacle. You are a staple of this live stream. You're part of it. You're not just a fucking viewer. You're not just some guy who comments. No, you're here with me right now. We're together. It's a symbiotic relationship. Don't you ever leave. If you leave, a part of me leaves. Don't do that. I love you, Claudio. And I love you too, Night King 01. And here it goes. You know, about Citizen Kane, watched it and thought it was going to be overrated, but I actually really enjoyed it. Easily 20 years ahead of its time. So, you're saying it's like a movie that could have been made in 1970? That's interesting. Yeah, I watched the opening scene, some of the camera work where the camera goes like through the ceiling or through the window through the roof. I remember that being a really cool shot. If that's not from the movie, don't correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. Gabe K says, M. Night's Trap might be the dumbest movie of the year. Also, could you please talk about your favorite Pixar films? Yeah, Trapped was okay. Great premise, like many M. Night Shyamalan movies have. But man, M. Night Shyamalan in that third act, it's like, okay, you got a movie. It's okay. It's pretty good. And then he goes, here's what M. Night Shyamalan movies do, right? Here's the third act of the movie. You have it. It's a beautiful. It's written. Everything's perfected. Get to the third act. Ah! Ah! So that's the ending of Trapped. I felt trapped in the theater when I was watching it. What was the question? What was the question? I know you asked something else, and I just had an aneurysm. So we're going to catch up here in a second. Oh, here it is. Actually, I lost it. Give me a second here. Okay. Panic Nation says, John, when did you first watch Training Day? Probably like the early 2000s, around the time it came out. I always loved it. I never actually saw it until recently, but man, that's good stuff. Oh, here's the second part of your question. Also, favorite Pixar movies. I'm sorry. Okay, yes. Whew, okay. Sorry. Putting the wad of paper in my mouth really threw me off. Pixar movies, Toy Story franchise. I think they said everything they had to say with Toy Story 3, and the fourth one was like, really, I don't want to watch the fourth Toy Story movie ever again. I really don't ever want to watch it again. Not to say it's terrible, but damn it, why would you watch it? It offered nothing. Nothing new. I love The Incredibles. Looking forward to The Incredibles 3. Incredibles 2 was just okay. I like Monsters, Inc. I don't know. Those are probably my favorite Pixar movies of all time. Finding Nemo is pretty good. Quite enjoy that. Okay, the next one comes from Andy, who says, just got back from Megalopolis. I don't really know what to think of it. It's kind of bizarre. I need time to process it, I guess. Yeah, Andy, I get it, man. Usually after a film, I don't like... This is why I've always not been the first one to put out a movie review. I need to process that shit. I need to think about it for a day. And I think one day's fair. Like, if you can give yourself at least 24 hours to process a film. Now, keep in mind, not every movie needs that. But something like The Substance, I could never just go home and crap out a video for it. So I'm with you, man. Take your time. Let it process. My Sweetie Pie says, what is something you're glad you experienced because it's gone now? For me, it's having Blockbuster videos and SNEI Snick on Saturday nights. Oh, Snick? You mean, was that Nick at Night? What are you talking about? What's Snick? Saturday night? I don't know. Oh, yeah, video stores definitely were a pivotal point in my life. And I'm so glad. I feel sorry for kids nowadays. And I sound like an old man, right? But your video store is like scrolling on Netflix, and it's just not the same. There's no humanity in that. You don't smell plastic video cases, and you don't have the disappointment. And I think being disappointed as a child is really good in your formative years, because there was nothing worse than going to the video store and there's that movie that you want to get, but they have 7 copies of it. Keep in mind, they had 7 copies of a movie for the entire town to watch this movie. 7 copies. It's like, what? But if they were all out, you had to find something else to watch. And that was, in one sense, in one way, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because I didn't always get the movie I wanted to see, but I would have to make another decision. And sometimes that other decision was a movie I would have never found or discovered if they had all 7 copies of, I don't know, Mortal Kombat in stock, you know? So I miss that. And I think now people maybe wouldn't take a chance on a movie. I don't know. Call me crazy. But yeah, I miss the video store experience. I really do. All right. The next one comes from Avocado Balls Johnson, who says, choose one. Both YouTube channels are deleted and all of your videos are lost forever, or every Blu-ray/4K you own turns into a DVD copy of the A-Team 2010. I'm gonna have to keep my YouTube channels, man. It's kind of like my gig now, so I might have to keep them. Plus, I could never get rid. I need to go save all my videos onto like some kind of physical Blu-ray disc or something, just to have it. But yeah, I definitely would just. It would suck. I would hate it. But you know, I can rebuy the Blu-rays. I can't recapture that magic again. You know. All right. The next one comes from Night King 01, who says, Michael Biehn was going to be Colonel Kortrich in Avatar, but he revealed only recently he had a stroke at around that time. Probably why he stopped doing a lot of films. Also, Cameron, though, it would remind people too much of aliens. Sucks because he's better. Colonel Quittridge? Who was that? That wasn't Stephen Lang, was it? No? Who was that? That wasn't the main antagonist, was it? I thought his name was something else. I could be wrong. Skylar Wheelock says, would you rather never have to watch Nightcrawler again, or have to share a beverage with the Pigeon Lady? Oh, man. The Pigeon Lady questions. I love me some Nightcrawler, but it's ingrained in my memory. But the Pigeon Lady's spit in my mouth would literally just kill me. You're asking me to drink gasoline or never watch a movie I love. And I'm not going to drink that gasoline. I'll tell you that right now. RJ Niaz says, dream scenario with Nicolas Cage. I know you loved it, John. I didn't love it. I did not love it. I liked it. Especially the pre-ejaculation scene. Always good to see, bro. It was good stuff. Nicolas Cage as a art house version of Freddy Krueger was brilliant. Oh, yeah. So Stephen Lang, I actually liked. I don't know. I don't see Michael Biehn in that role. I'm actually glad it didn't work out that way. Yeah, definitely a better casting choice. Let me check something here. Okay. I was like, is his name Stephen Lang? It's been a while since I've said it. Okay, it is. Your name here says, I just saw Gattaca for the first time. Good flick with a good cast, including Dean Norton, Isaac Schrader, or Isaac Schrader. Favorite Ethan Hawke movie? Oh man, The Explorers. Have you ever seen that? It's a great 80s movie. Gattaca's really good. If I had to pick one Ethan Hawke movie I love, it's probably Training Day. Night King 01 says, I don't know why I do this, but I watched Quantum of Solace yesterday because you're a glutton for punishment. I never experienced the disappointment like you did in the theater, but my God, the action scenes in this film are so horrible. The editing just feels off. It looks nice. That's about it. I don't even think it looks that nice. And they were making that movie up as they went. That was during the writer's strike back in 2007-8. They were literally just making the movie up as they went, and you can tell. It's a 90-minute 007 movie. Or, as I call it, an obligation. By the way, thanks to all 300 of you watching right now. Do you guys want to be called Flickamaniacs? I'm going to call you Flickamaniacs. Is that okay? I'm going to call you that. If you don't want to be called that, I'm sorry. Robert Giachinita. I did not say that right. I'm sorry. Have you ever seen Dexter? Just started. It's good. I've seen parts of the first season of Dexter and some scenes later on. I like it, but keep in mind, my experiences with serial killer sociopaths, I had a lot of those growing up, and not personally speaking, though there were a few instances, but I had watched so many movies like that where when it came to Dexter, it just felt like a cliche to me. It felt like a trope. And some of the things he does for being this brilliant, sociopath, I just don't think he's as smart as the show makes you want to think he is. So it kind of took me out of it, especially in the first season. I don't know. I like it, but I don't love it. And I didn't love it enough to continue watching it, if that makes any sense. All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, do you remember the last movie you rented from Blockbuster and Family Video? My final picks from Blockbuster were Valkyrie, Paul Blart, and the last rentals from video stores were Hobbs & Shaw and Tron Legacy. That's crazy, man. I remember one of the last movies I ever rented from the Redbox was that Need for Speed movie. And I think I did it on a YouTube, in a Flick Trip video, to be honest with you. I'm trying to remember the last movie I rented. You know what it was? I can't remember the last thing I rented, but it did get to a point where I was kind of over renting movies and I would just buy anything I wanted to see. If it was worth watching, I just went and bought it. And that kind of started in like 2000 and maybe 10. I just got into that. I was like, if I'm going to watch this movie, I'll just go to Walmart and buy it. And that's kind of what I did. Night King 01 says, did you like Michael Biehn as the villain in The Abyss? I don't think he was a straight up villain. I don't think he was like an antagonist. Can I be honest with you? The Abyss is maybe, besides Piranha 2, might be my least favorite James Cameron movie. Is that an unpopular opinion? I think it might be. It's like, I like, it's sort of like Close Encounters, but with water. I don't know. That just occurred to me. But I think it is my least favorite James Cameron movie. And that really says something, I know. But I'd much rather watch True Lies or Terminator or Aliens or Titanic. The Abyss might be better than Avatar: The Way of Water. That's fair. All right, guys, I'm going to answer just a few more questions. Christopher wants to be called Flickers? I don't know, man. I don't know. Flickomaniacs? We'll come up with something. I'm going to call you Flickomaniacs. Dino Boy says, John, thoughts on Halloween 2 at the hospital? Oh, you mean the hospital that had no patients? Yeah, we have a staff of 3 people and 2 patients in a very large facility. This is either the safest town, which I don't buy that because you have a serial killer that's always on the loose, or no one gets hurt. Or you couldn't afford extras. Or the movie just wouldn't work if there were multiple patients and doctors all at this facility. Yeah, I liked it. All right. Let's answer this one here. Joey Ruiz, Lord of the Rings, says, "Hey, Johnny, I'm glad you're back. I love the smell of bike tires." Well, that makes two of us. "Where do you rank Last Action Hero and Raw Deal in your top 10 Arnold movies?" Raw Deal is definitely not going to be in there. Last Action Hero, I think, was ahead of its time. I really do. I remember seeing that in theaters and really enjoying it. And I loved the concept of the little kid Danny going to the theater and the screen comes to life and he gets stuck in a movie. That spoke to me as a young, stupid kid, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know. If I put Last Action Hero in there, it'd probably be at the bottom of the list of my favorite Arnold movies, to be honest with you. But I'd have to do some soul searching to put that list together. But you know, number 1 and 2 is definitely Predator and T2 and Terminator, and Jingle All the Way is going to be in there as a guilty pleasure. Maybe that's number 10. No patients are in the hospital. Not patients. All right. Let's answer a few more questions. Makano says, "I watched it in theaters too. Loved it as a kid." Yeah, it was a good time, man. I saw True Lies in the theater as a kid. I saw The Lion King in theaters as a kid. I saw Jurassic Park. Steve Goldie says, "The Pigeon Lady has become the most famous character in the movie history on these live streams, and for all the wrong reasons. I would like to give her some plastic doves." Not me. I'd like to give her a bar of soap and say, "Get the fuck out of here." Here's a can of gasoline. Light yourself on fire. All right. Let's answer just one more question here. Somebody said they like the Arnold movie Eraser. I think that's one of the most instantly forgettable Arnold movies of all time. But the question is, do you put Batman and Robin on that list? I don't know. Jay says, "I just watched you. I haven't watched you in 8 years. Did you stop working out? I remember you being huge." Well, I did stop working out, but that's very rude of you to say. That makes me sound like I'm withering away and I'm small. Look at this. Jay, this is just for you. I was going to save this for my OnlyFans, Jay, but get ready for it. This is a guy that hasn't worked out in a year, baby. A year. Look at that. That's called muscle memory, baby. Now whip out your biceps and let's compare. Yeah, I did stop working out, though. I just started doing landscaping, and the gym just kind of became less fun to me. And plus, working a normal 9-to-5 gig, it just drains your soul. I did not want to go work out, ever. When I came home, I wanted to stay home. So don't take this wide angle lens for granted. Keep in mind, it's a wide angle lens. My head's going to look bigger than it is because it's closer to the camera. But you back up and you turn. Look at that. See? That's all you're going to get now. Put a little popcorn butter on each one of these. Get the shine going on. Get one of those 500 bottles of baby oil from P. Diddy. Rub it on the biceps. We're getting weird now. All right. One more question and let's wrap up this live stream. Night King 01 says, Since I mentioned James Bond, Since I mentioned James Bond, other than Casino Royale, what are some of your favorites? I have a soft spot for The World Is Not Enough and Tomorrow Never Dies. Not great films. Now, GoldenEye is great, but Skyfall gets worse the more I see it. Yeah, I was never in love with Skyfall. I think that was really overrated. You want to talk about an overrated movie? I think it's Skyfall. The scene where you have Javier Bardem's character, who's supposed to be this criminal mastermind, and he has James Bond in all these situations where he wants to make his life harder. The scene where he's being chased through the tunnels, and all of a sudden an explosion goes off, and a subway car comes crashing through this tunnel as he's climbing up a ladder. It's like, wait. You timed all of this, so when you're being chased to make your great escape, you're going to have a subway car fly through the tunnel to try to kill somebody chasing you. That seems a bit convoluted. Here's a thought. Call me crazy. Why don't you just hire some guy to have a gun standing in a corner and he just boom. You didn't need you didn't have to explode a subway tunnel to have it come crashing through. I get that you wanted to have a crazy over the top cinematic scene, but as far as like logical plot development goes, from a criminal mastermind, I thought it was atrocious and I hated it. But yeah, GoldenEye is probably my next favorite James Bond movie. But then again, License to Kill I think is great too. But it's been a while since I've seen it. All right. The White Skull, what was your question, man? Can you just ask it again real quick? Because I don't have it in front of me. Let me scroll back. Just ask your question again right now, very quickly. I'm looking for it, and it does not exist. So if you can ask again, I will answer it. What? By the way, speaking of James Bond, who would you like to see direct the next James Bond film? Would you like to see Nolan do it, or do you feel like we got enough James Bond-esque elements from the movie Tenet and Inception? Steve Goldie says, did you ever see The Specialist with Sly and Sharon Stone? I think I have. Yes, I have seen The Specialist, but have you ever seen the Stallone movie called Daylight? I used to watch it on repeat at my grandparents' house when I stayed there for the summer because that's all they played on Showtime. Come on, White Skull, where's this question, man? I'm waiting. Just type it in the normal chat. I'll read it. All right, the next one comes from... I'm just waiting on this one guy's question. Come on, White Skull. Type the fucking question. I'll read it. Dino Boy 909 says, Steven Spielberg will direct the next James Bond only makes sense because of Indiana Jones. I don't think you're going to have a Spielberg-esque James Bond movie anytime soon, man. I just want... Isn't Spielberg directing his next movie has something to do with aliens? And I have no clue what the tone is. I hope it's not some family-friendly alien movie. Fuck that. I want him to go back to his roots. Go back to what made Jaws so great. Make something aggressive and violent and bloody and brutal. Put me on the edge of my seat. Push the limitations of cinema, Spielberg. All right. But does anyone know what the Spielberg movie is? It's about aliens. That's all I know. Tenet is the worst of Nolan's movies. I agree with that. I thought it was very Nolan indulgent. Spielberg was meant to make the Bond movie with Timothy Dalton. I heard that. I don't know how close that came, though. The White Skull says, would you ever watch Wizard of Oz movies where Dorothy has love with the lion and scare? You can watch that. If you just type it in Google, you'll find that video. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up the live show there. I want to say thanks for all the questions. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm sorry I missed last week's live show. I was in Austin, Texas, watching some movies. But before I go, if you want, you don't have to, but I think you should, check out the last couple of movie reviews I put over on the Flickpick channel. The link is down below. I talk about The Wild Robot. Highly recommend it. I thought it was just going to be a generic-ass CG animated movie. Blew me away. Quite enjoyed it. And I also do a collab review for Terrifier 3. That's a good time. So, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And I hope you guys have a great night. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.